Jesse Williams gave a speech at the BET Awards about racism, and in his speech he made a lot of points about injustice, that the black community deals with on a daily basis, uh, economic inequality, police brutality, exploitation, and so on. And the speech was very powerful and, thought-provoking. So what happened is that Justin Timberlake then went on Twitter and tweeted, a shout out to him and said he was feeling inspired. And then then Justin Timberlake got a bunch of shit from some people on Twitter saying that, if you're so inspired, then you should stop appropriating our culture, right? And this idea, because, apparently only black people are allowed to listen to hip hop, and he's appropriating culture because, since hip hop came from the black, community, then, a white person that actually, like, a white recording artist who does hip hop is, like, somehow stealing it, right? And that kind of got me thinking about the whole idea about cultural appropriation. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that it's racist. The entire concept of cultural appropriation is racist. Now, let me explain what I mean by that, all right? When people get mad about cultural appropriation, it comes down to this, basically what they're saying is that you are the wrong race to be engaging in that act that you're doing. Justin Timberlake is white, so he's the wrong race to be recording hip hop, right? Is what they're saying. And it's like that's limiting the activities of people to what they are and aren't allowed to do based on their race, on the color of their skin. And that's the very fucking definition of racist. So a few months ago there was a story, if you guys remember, and at this university student who got in a fight, not really a fight, more like an argument with this white kid who was like wearing dreadlocks, and it made it was like a viral video for a little while. And basically this student, she was like a teacher's aide or something, and she was demanding that this white kid cut off his dreadlocks, like right there and then, and apparently there was some argument that they had there before. And then he was trying to get away and she was grabbing him and stuff, and then she tried to like write him up for inappropriate body contact because apparently you're not even allowed to like touch another person in college anymore. And but the idea was that, well, she wanted him to cut off the dreadlocks because dreadlocks are part of her culture because she's black. That's cultural appropriation. That's the idea. It's like he's appropriating my culture because only black people are allowed to have dreadlocks, number one. But I would argue that that's not really her culture because, it assumes that all cultures from everyone who's black is exactly the same, which is not true at all. Culture is not exclusively based on skin color, it's actually close. It's, if you could say anything, it's geography. I mean, the thing is that, black people in America don't really have the same culture as black people in, Africa, because Africa itself doesn't have a unified culture. There's multiple cultures, because it's a continent, right, made up of multiple countries. So that's like saying that all white culture in Europe is all the same. That's like saying that like people in England and France and Czechoslovakia and Poland all have the same culture, where they don't. There's definitely distinct cultures in all those countries. The same way in Africa that, Kenya and Uganda and Nigeria and Ethiopia have distinct cultures, They have distinct languages, they have distinct styles of dress, distinct food, distinct, heritage, right? It's just not all the same thing, because that's a very racist way to look at it if you just grab the entirety of a continent and go black, and then the entirety of another continent and go white, and an entirety of another continent and go Asian. And that's extremely racist in my view. I mean, the thing is, in this country, most people wear dreadlocks because of Bob Marley, and his, reggae music in general and Rastafarianism. And it's like, the thing is, was this girl, first off, was she wearing dreadlocks? No. Okay. Was she from Jamaica? Was she from the Caribbean? No. Right? I mean, so was she a Rastafarian? Most likely not. So why the fuck is it her culture? Is it just because Bob Marley was black, suddenly that means it belongs to her, so no one else in the fucking world is allowed to wear dreadlocks because of that? What if this white kid actually was from Jamaica? or the Caribbean or whatever, or what if he actually was a Rastafarian, right? And actually believed in that religion? Would he be allowed to wear the dreadlocks then, or is it just like he's never allowed to because his skin is not the right color? It doesn't make any fucking sense. What this girl is saying, and what the people on Twitter who got mad at Justin Timberlake, what they're basically saying is that you're not allowed to use any piece of culture that not originate with the culture that you were born into, which is bullshit, right? But the thing is that where it's racist is that they don't apply this evenly to all cultures. They only seem to apply it to white people. Okay? And, hear me out here, okay? They're mad because white people wear dreadlocks. Well, back in the 70s, like, white people would wear afros too. I mean, was that, back in the disco era and shit, when people were, like, dressing flamboyantly and stuff, was that racist back then? Lots of Jewish people have very curly hair, and, sometimes they wear it and kind of frizz it out into a fro. Are they being racist, right? That doesn't make any fucking sense. What if I'm half black? Does that mean that I get to wear half an afro? Like, I can grow it this side and have to shave it down that side? White people invented the suit and the tie, so does that mean that only white people are allowed to wear suits and ties? Black people can't wear suits and ties, Asians can't wear suits and ties. Does that mean that, like, clothing, like, black people are only allowed to wear traditional African dress, right? Is that how it should be, like, according to these people? So what kind of, what traditional dress are we talking about here? Somalian, Nigerian, Kenyan, right? And what the fuck are you talking about here? Does that mean that all white people have to wear, like, lederhosen and shit when they walk around, or whatever culture they're descended from in Europe? It's fucking, that's, retarded, right? I mean, do all Asian people have to wear, like, fucking samurai armor and kimonos, right? I'm actually part Asian, so do I get to, like, do I have to dress up like a ninja or something? Like, I mean, I'm only, like, half Asian, so I get to wear, like, half of a fucking ninja suit? Or is it because I'm, like, the wrong kind of Asian, I'm not actually Japanese, I'm part Filipino, so I don't get to wear any of that shit? Is that how it fucking works? Do we force Native Americans to walk around wearing moccasins and fucking mohawks and headdresses and shit and going woo woo woo? Do we force them to do that? No. People I see get mad when they see white people making ethnic food. It's like that's a couple of things I've seen. Like, they'll, like, on the internet and shit, they'll get pissed off when, like, you see a cooking show and the white person is cooking, like, some ethnic food, like Mexican food or something. So does that mean I'm just never allowed to eat Mexican food? Like, am I not allowed to eat sushi? Can I eat sushi because I'm part Asian, or am I the wrong kind of Asian to eat sushi? That's fucking just dumb, dude. I mean, that's why stop at food? Why stop at clothes? What about inventions, right? Well, a German invented the first, automobile with an internal combustion engine. So does that mean only Germans are allowed to ride, to drive cars? They're only Germans are allowed to make cars and to, like, drive around in cars. An American invented the airplane, so no other countries on Earth get to have airplanes then. But wait a minute, it was a white man that invented the airplane. So does that mean only white people get to fly around in airplanes because of this? Are you fucking serious? Just take the concept and, apply it evenly to everything, and you see that it doesn't make any sense. I mean, people got mad at Justin Timberlake for appropriating hip-hop, taking away hip-hop. It's ours, it belongs to us. Well, just because a black person originated hip-hop doesn't mean that it only belongs to black people, And it doesn't mean that only black people are allowed to listen to hip-hop, Does that mean that a black person, like, does that mean they have to listen to hip-hop, Like, they have to, like, they're only allowed to, like, rap or funk or the blues or jazz or hip-hop or R&B, like, and white people aren't allowed to listen to any of that shit. That doesn't make any fucking sense. What about, classic rock, right? If a black guy is not allowed to like classic rock, so what about Jimi Hendrix, Did he, like, was he guilty of appropriating classic rock, from white people? Because the majority of people who, recorded classic rock were white, so does that mean, Jimi Hendrix stole it from them? That doesn't make any sense. What about Bad Brains? Alright, that's like a punk band, hardcore punk band that's made up of black people. Are they, like, not allowed, are they, appropriating punk rock from white people? That's fucking dumb. Or is it okay because they have dreadlocks and they do the occasional reggae song? So does that mean that Bad Brains is only allowed to do the fucking reggae songs? They are only allowed to perform those songs and they shouldn't be allowed to do the punk rock songs? That's fucking dumb. There's a band called Tower of Power that I like. There some members of them are white, some of them are black. So which is it? Am I allowed to like them or not? Are they appropriating? Are the black members okay in the band and the white members of the band are appropriating the funk music? Is that how it's working? It's fucking ridiculous. The whole thing, it's just bullshit. It's bullshit and it's racist to boot. And the truth is, food is just food. Clothes are just clothes, right? And hairstyles are just fucking hairstyles. They don't mean anything beyond what you assign to it, all right? And, here's the thing is that dressing a way that you like just because you like, and eating the stuff that you like just because you like it, and listening to the music you like just because you like it is a perfectly fucking valid reason to do it. Not everything you do has to have some kind of big, social justice motive behind it, Okay, there doesn't have to be a reason why you choose to dress a certain way. It's just you just fucking like doing it. That's absolutely perfectly legit. What business is it of yours to tell people that they are and aren't allowed to like the things that they like, or to dress the way they want to dress, or to explore cultures that are not their own, right? Who the fuck are you to decide these things, And how do you do it without sounding just as racist as, people in the South in the 60s who were telling you that you're the wrong color to sit on this section of the bus? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's racist at its very core, and the more I think about it, the more I can't I just think it's just fucking bullshit. And I think it's just an invention so that, entitled millennials have something to fucking complain about. All right, you're complaining about, the music that people listen to and the food they eat and their fucking hairstyles. Fuck you. All right, those are not things that you should be complaining about. All right, you want to complain about racism, right? Complain about, institutional racism. Complain about the fact that black people make less money than white people, or that black people, when they go to get job interviews and they'll put the two resumes right next to each other, the one with a black name doesn't get a call back, 50% of the time. And 50% of the time, the white person will, even though they have the exact same fucking criteria, the exact same experience, the exact same fucking, education. Like, complain about that shit, right? Complain about the fact that, like, black people are, more likely to go to prison for the same crime, right? They get harsher sentences and they make up, an abnormal amount of the people in prison because of the fucking prison industrial complex, right? There's real racism out there that needs to be challenged and obliterated, right? And Justin fucking Timberlake recording a hip hop album is not part of that, right? Anyway, adios.